everybody. Welcome back to Challenge Call of Max and Avery. I'm your host, Max.
And I am Avery. How are you guys?
All right, we are coming off of a rough week for football, college and NFL alike. We had some blowouts, some big blowouts, pretty much all by teams that we support, or at least I support. But before we get too much into that, we will just start off with our Cubs corner. Avery, why don't you give us an update on the Cubs?
Well, man, just not football, but baseball in general. The Cubs have struggled. We are 4-6, 4-6 in the last 10 games, and if we don't beat Milwaukee the next two games, we're out of the playoffs. And I think I mentioned that on the podcast last week. But we are 82-76 right now. We're still in second place, but right now it's not looking good against the Braves. We're down 5-2 tonight, so the Braves will sweep us.
What inning is it?
It is in the seventh inning. So, yeah, I don't think we got a really good shot at coming back on that one. And then I just don't see the Cubs making it. And even if we do make it, man, we're gonna lose in the wild card round. Well, I mean, we're still a young team, and I think this is the year before the year. I think we've said that multiple times about all our football teams, but in baseball, I firmly believe it. The Cubs, they have the potential. They just don't know how to put it all together right now. And I think it comes back to their manager, David Ross.
What's your thoughts on, would you rather make the playoffs and just get absolutely destroyed in that first playoff game? Or would you rather just barely miss the playoffs and kind of save yourself the embarrassment of going in and just getting shredded?
I think my personality, I still want to be in the playoffs. I still want to make it to the dance, regardless if we get shredded or not. But it looks like we won't have both. So I think it'll be the second option, as you just mentioned, because I think we're not going to beat the Brewers. So
I go back and forth on the thought a little bit, but I think definitely better to make the playoffs than to not, because then at least, you made it.
True. Right. You can say, hey, the Cubs were a playoff team last year, all off season, and then you can move forward with some momentum going into next year.
Exactly. But getting into the meat and potatoes of our episode, we will get into some football here. First off, we will give you guys an update on the current Heisman race. We have a couple new names here on our list. A couple names were dropped. Unfortunately, one of the names dropped was my boy, Shedeur Sanders. We'll get into that later. He is the honorable mention, though, so we'll keep some spirits up for that. But Avery, why don't you give us number one on our list right now?
Yeah, Michael Penix Jr. leading the number 7 Washington Huskies into the top 10 this year. Man, he looks like a stud. And we mentioned it the last time we talked about him. Transfer from Indiana. He had a good year last year at Washington. But, man, 16 touchdowns in 4 games. That's 4 per game if you break it down. That's impressive. 1,600 yards, and he's only thrown 2 interceptions this year. That offense is deadly. We talk about, Oregon and how they have a defense to compensate with it. So does Washington. And I think that's why they're so heavily, I think that's why the Big Ten took Washington and Oregon in from the Pac-12 schools, because they wanted similar schools to come and play Big Ten football. And Washington does that, and they have a firepower offense.
Definitely. And just a real quick thing I'm noticing here about our list of 5. 4 of these 5 quarterbacks are in the Pac-12.
Yeah,
this is absolutely just the Pac-12's year. They're falling apart. Everyone's already leaving, got contracts to move out, and now they decide that they're gonna just absolutely ball out and be almost SEC comparable. Why now? Why'd you wait so long?
this is such a big fuck you to the NCAA. It really is. These Pac-12 schools, and granted, it was a lot of their choices to leave the Pac-12, but it was because the NCAA wasn't giving them the media rights that they deserved. And they came out this year, and they're proving why these schools should be in a major power conference. I think, 4 out of the 5, and even if you include Shedeur Sanders in the honorable mention, that's 5 out of the 6 right there that are in the Heisman contention race. That's insane.
Now, there is some theory to thought of I don't know how much this affects because I don't know these schools have said that they're leaving the Pac-12 for different time frames now, but potentially this could be a little bit of a recruiting skew. You know, like why'd they take so long? Why'd they wait till now to get super good? Maybe it's because once word got out that they were leaving the Pac 12 and joining the Big Ten, maybe it boosted their recruiting a little bit, or maybe it made them a little more desirable for guys like Michael Penix Jr., who left Indiana to go to Washington. You know, like, oh, they're going to be in the Big Ten next year, whatever, blah, blah, go. That could potentially just be the side of things that we don't know exactly what happened. And maybe that's why they're skewing up so good, is because they're about to join a powerful conference. So people want to hop on board with that.
For sure, man. And I think that's a big major implication with it because they're performing out of their mind. And it's specifically the quarterbacks of this conference. Like the quarterbacks in this conference are balling out. I mean, they've played some competition too. I mean, San Diego State for Washington is no slump. Like that's who Michael Penix played last year. They're actually gonna be in the Pac-2 next year if they continue that rate. San Diego State signed media rights and everything with the Pac-12 to join it before they dismantled. So they're actually playing decent competition, and I don't understand like why. Like it's weird. It's weird to me. The Pac-12 is just weird this year.
For sure. But moving on a little bit with our Heisman race here. Number 2, Caleb Williams, USC, ranked 8.
Mr. Bear.
No. If the Bears take him, I am officially out of Chicago. Officially, I am gone. But yes, Caleb Williams. I feel like you can't have a Heisman winner not be in the Heisman race the following year. I feel like it's almost an automatic that you're gonna keep an extra eye on this guy and, you know, hope or expect that he can do something.
Right. Well, and the crazy part is he deserves it, man. Like as much as you dislike the guy, he's came out this year under Lincoln Riley's tutelage and like he's performed. Like 322 yards, 3 TDs, 2 rushing TDs, 5 touchdowns in total. And he's leading USC, which is ranked number 8, and he's had 1,200 yards on the year so far. Like that's 300 per game. That's impressive, man. As much as you hate the guy and dislike him, I see another high-scoring game this upcoming week with coming up against Colorado,
which we will get into. But speaking of Colorado, the next guy on this list, Bo Nix, quarterback for Oregon, who is my favorite to win right now outside of Penix Jr. I haven't seen Penix Jr. play at all, so I really don't know him. But I did watch Bo Nix play against Colorado, and, well, he looked pretty fucking good to me.
Yeah.
Now, Colorado did not, so that might skew in Bo's favor a little bit, but I still think Bo did a solid job, and I'm biased when I say he's my pick now, just because I think it will sting a little bit less.
Bo knows. That's all I gotta say. Bo knows. The thing with Bo Nix, man, is like he's also another transfer, but he's been at Oregon for the last 3 years. But he played his freshman ball at Auburn. He actually played. This is a crazy stat. He actually played Justin Herbert in a bowl game his freshman year against Oregon, and then transferred to Oregon the year after. And
Damn.
yeah, so like he's been in college football forever. And he's kind of like the Sam Hartman effect, been around the game, been around college football forever. And like, he's showing it 276 yards, 3 TDs. And he tore apart Deion's defense, like in every way imaginable. He tore apart Deion's defense.
I want to sit and talk about it so much, but I know we'll get into that later. And so I will save that for later. But yeah, so there's the first 3 Pac-12 guys that we've got in the top 3. So if you look at just the top 3, all Pac-12.
Yep.
All Pac-12 coming in at top 3. That is wild. That is crazy. 2 of them going to the Big Ten. Iowa's going to have to face that next year or 2 years from now, whenever it's happening.
I'm actually all three of these guys are probably going to graduate or not graduate.
Well,
Bo Nix is going to graduate. Caleb Williams is entering the draft, and Michael Penix is most likely entering the draft. He still has 1 year of eligibility, but he'll
I
probably
was
draft.
I was going from a more so team standpoint, not
Right.
necessarily these three specific Heisman candidates, but team standpoint. These are three top 10 teams right now that
Damn.
are coming to the West in the Big Ten.
Scary.
So that's going to be fun. Bye bye Big Ten championship. But why don't you tell us about our fourth guy that we have, the first non Pac 12 guy? I'll be right back.
Yeah, so Jordan Travis, ranked number 3, Florida State right now. He threw for 289 yards and 2 TDs last game. And he's thrown for 1,028 yards and 10 TDs on this year so far. They do have a bye week this week coming up. So it'll be interesting to see how he can perform and how he'll do coming back from the bye. Sometimes a bye week can really implicate their flow of the game and how they've been performing all year. But to me, Jordan Travis has the most pedestrian numbers out of any of these Heisman contenders right now.
Yeah, bye weeks can help a ton, and they can also hurt a little bit. We're coming off of a bye week right now. This weekend, we're about to go play a team that was pretty good, but they're pretty young now, so we're really hoping we can pull a win off there. And so we'll see how the bye week's going to affect that. But definitely, I think there's some merit to that. Is bye weeks can help from a preparation standpoint, but they can also hurt from just, like you said, kind of a routine. It throws you off a little bit. You haven't played a game in 2 weeks. That can hurt you sometimes. Sorry, I had to run out there. I saw you drinking the Bud Light Peach, and I forgot I was actually going to crack one open
Nice.
for the pod. Non-spawn.
Non-sponsored, but
but
dude, it's so good. It's so good. It clenches the thirst like no other. But this isn't a sponsored ad.
No sponsored ad. I do love it though. Anyway, last guy we will get to on our Heisman list here. We've got Cam Ward, another Pac-12 quarterback. Washington State, actually. The state of Washington is 2 guys in this race. 4 Pac-12 guys, fine, great, whatever. 2 of them, Washington schools. I don't know why. That's just weird to me. But tell us a little bit about Cam Ward here.
Yeah, man, he kind of took a jump after the last couple of games, and 404 yards and 4 TDs in one game is impressive. And Pac-12 has been getting all the flowers this year. Do you think that Strude's in kind of waivers the top 25 rankings because they want to see Washington schools in it or Pac-12 schools in it, and that's why they're getting higher ranked? I was thinking about that the other day.
I don't know, but that is one thing that drives me crazy with the way that FBS college football does their whole playoff system. It doesn't have anything to do with conference. It doesn't have anything to do with record. Truly, sure, it has a little bit to do with record, but not truly, because it's just analysts out there that sit there and they say, yeah, these 4 teams, we think these 4 teams are the best 4 teams in college football right now. Now, they use stats and merits and stuff like that to make that decision, but there's no calculation. There's no system to it. It's just them sitting there saying, yeah, this team right here. So there's definitely some room to skew some things like that. Or even like you said, they go off of I know I made the argument that same coaching staff, returning players, etc. of a good team. But like you mentioned an episode or 2 ago, it's oh, this team was good last year. Yeah, I'll start them off with a high rank. Yeah, they're still good. They just lost a couple games. That's what I hate the analyst system. I can't stand the way we just rank and do playoffs by who says what.
Right, yeah. And the cool thing with Cam Ward, he probably had one of the most impressive performance out of anybody this week because they did play number 14 Oregon State, and they beat them 38-35. And so that is a top 25 matchup, top 20 matchup, and he balled out. Like kind of like Bo Nix with the top 25 matchup there. Both of those quarterbacks really balled out in their top 25 matchup. I want
Can you call it a top 25 matchup if the losing team dropped out of the top 25 following the game?
I suppose not because Oregon State's still standing firm in the top 25. But yeah, you're right. One other thing I wanted to mention with this though is crazy. There's no Big Ten and there's no SEC player in this Heisman watch right now. In the Heisman spotlight, there's none. Like there's no Big Ten and no SEC. Aren't those supposed to be the two best conferences?
For
Because
sure.
we got four Pac-12 guys and one ACC guy. That's wild.
We've talked so much about things becoming the power two with the SEC and the Big Ten, and how we should just go to a complete SEC Big Ten and then break up divisional regions kind of thing, like a north, south, east, west. And yeah, that's a good point to make. Like, none of these teams right now are that. Of course, we would have to do a little bit of a breakdown of the top 25 rankings right now because, I mean, we already know in the top 10, there's one, two, three, four non Big Ten schools or Big Ten or SEC schools, but I would bet you there's still a decent amount ranked. I can tell you're looking that up right now just because, like, yeah, having a Heisman is one thing, but you can still be a really, really good top 10 team by having 11 really good players. Maybe not one Heisman player, but having 11 or 22, even as you have an offense and a defense, you could get into realms of 33, 44. You go special teams too. It's normally a lot of the same guys. But still, like from a true team standpoint, I still want to argue that the Big Ten and SEC are just better conferences in general. That is a little bit of biasy coming from a Big Ten fan, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, so the SEC right now has 7 schools. The Big Ten right now has 4 schools.
So not a ton.
No, Big 12 has one,
At least
four
four.
schools, and the rest are Pac-12, except for one. One is Mountain West, and that's the Fresno State
All
Bulldogs. So
right.
yeah, so the Mountain West has one. So the rest have Pac-12. So Pac-12 is leading the top 25 right now in school,
Interesting.
which is impressive. I mean, SEC is second, was 7, and then the Big Ten is comparable to the Big 12 right now. Is this a down year for the Big Ten?
I think this is a little bit of a down year. Yeah, I don't know if there's much more to say than that. It's a bit of a down year.
Well, yeah,
But another thing I always like to see is not necessarily going off of the college football rankings, but NFL production. I always like seeing the stats and the numbers and stuff that are like how many players in the NFL currently or on an NFL roster, etc., came from this conference, that conference, that conference. SEC does lead that number more often than not. When you see something like that, it is like the SEC up there. And then yeah, Big Ten is normally next kind of in line, number 2 right there. So I think that's a part of where that mentality comes from is just like not necessarily, it's partially whole team top 25 stuff, but it's also partially like historic production and like pumping out of like these guys are in the NFL playing right now. They moved on, they moved to the next level. What are these other Pac-12 guys doing? I don't know. They're in sales somewhere.
for sure. No, and I agree. I think the Big Ten does do a great job at representing that, especially Iowa in general. Like Iowa, the last few years has been a great school for that, and
I
so
mean, we're watching Sam Laporta right now just tear it up against the Packers. So like, ooh,
yeah, I love the Lions. I need to become a Lions fan.
I could switch. I could make the switch. I'm not gonna lie.
I could too. I'm not gonna lie either. I think I could too.
But on that depressing note, we will get into, I guess, even a more depressing note, honestly. We'll go into our college football recap here. We will start out with Iowa, who just played Penn State. Iowa was ranked 24. Penn State was ranked 7th. Then Iowa lost 31 to Zip. Penn State is now 6. Iowa has lost their ranking. Yeah. What do you have to say about this game?
What a shit show, dude. Not much. It's like one of those games that you just burn the tape. You just burn the tape and move on. I mean, we knew Penn State was a great team this year. We knew they probably can compete with Michigan and Ohio State in the East this year, but I wasn't expecting this, and I wasn't expecting to get blanked like we did. And even if we make it to the West and we roll the dice the rest of the year, like we gotta face Penn State, Michigan, or Ohio State. And if it's another game like this, we're going to get shut out. And Brian Ferentz' coaching is just hit a new low. I mean, it's
After
low.
I think it was somewhere around the third quarter, end of the third quarter, that I was saying, honestly, at this point, we're not winning the game. So I hope they put up 0 points because fuck Brian Ferentz. This will bring his average back down. I still had a lot of hope at halftime. Like, it was only 10-0 at half. It was 10-0 at the half. That is an easily winnable ball game. 2 touchdowns. You need to score twice, and you can win that game. But obviously, we don't go on to do that. Our offense continues to go 3 and out and just puts pressure and exhaust on our defense, and they give up more and more and more as the game goes on.
And I'm not going to lie, our defense isn't the same Iowa defense that we've seen in the past.
No.
It's not. It is probably above average Big Ten defense this year. And with the way our offense is, we're not going to win that many games. Well, we will win a lot of games because we're in the Big Ten West, but we're not going to win that many prominent games like a game like Penn State. And it shows. Like, our defense was physically and mentally exhausted by the end of the game because Penn State's time of possession outweighed the offense of Iowa's time of possession. So it just looked bad all around. It was a bad game to even watch. I mean, I was at work, but I was watching it on my phone, and at half, I just I need to conserve my battery, and I turned it off because
I was at the bar with my girlfriend because it was our bye week, so I could actually sit and watch college football for once, and it was horrible, honestly.
What a week to have a bye week.
You're telling me the one week I get to watch college football just all day. The 1 week I get to wake up, turn on the TV, watch Colorado, Iowa, Bears all play, and they all get absolutely demolished.
Include your Broncos in there too.
See, I didn't actually watch that one.
Okay.
I think it was either the same time as the Bears or I just didn't watch it. But the other 3, I truly, truly watched. Actually, the Bears, I really didn't watch that much of. Not going to lie. Mostly because I was with my girlfriend for the weekend. We watched football all day Saturday. So Sunday, I was kind of like, honestly, I don't need to watch the Bears. We can watch something else. We can go do something because I knew it was about to be a bad game. And I honestly didn't even want to see it. So
I don't blame you one bit, man. I really don't. But when you're my professional sport team and Iowa's football team gets outscored 72-10 in one weekend is a rough weekend. And I just did the math for your 4 teams that you support full-heartedly. Do you want to hear it?
Yeah, let's hear it.
184-26. Impressive. Oh, I'm sorry, 184-36. There you go. Give you an extra point. But still, that's a rough weekend.
That is a rough weekend. So to continue with my rough weekend, why don't we get into our next game here? Colorado versus now number 9, Oregon. Oregon won 42-6. So props to Colorado for putting up 6. I think they put it up at the end of the fourth quarter. So, yeah. But still, this game was rough to watch. And this is how I started the weekend too, mind you. This was the 2:30 p.m. game. First game that I am going to watch. I woke up, I made breakfast, woke up, we went to brunch, came back, whatever. fucking turn on the TV, ready to watch Colorado, Sco Buffs, and then just damn. Like you said, the O-line just absolutely fucking bitch slapped the defense. No, not even that. It wasn't even Oregon's O-line against Colorado's defense. Colorado did a little bit okay things like now and then on defense, line-wise, but flip it. Colorado's O-line just did not give Shedeur a chance at all. Not even just Shedeur, but I don't even know who their running back's name, but just run game, pass game, anything. They just absolutely could not handle like being athletes.
Yeah, all right. So I know you got a little frustrated with me on Saturday because I kept messaging you about this game. I had to, man. I didn't want to rub it in your face, but part of me really did. Cause like I knew it was gonna happen. I knew they were gonna play a great defense in Oregon. And give Oregon its props. Like they prepared a lot for this game. And it showed. I think they saw what happened the last couple of weeks and they wanted to come out and make a statement on Colorado.
And part of it's Colorado's fault, which is one thing I don't agree, because it was not right after the game, but throughout this week, I've seen different things or videos and whatnot of like the Colorado players were talking shit before the game. They were like dragging their cleats on the Oregon O or whatever's in the middle of the field, just doing shit. Yeah, just doing shit like that. And I'm just like,
really?
From that perspective, a part of me is like, I'm glad you guys got fucked up a little bit, because like that, I don't know. That's not the way to be. One, if you're going to be that way, you got to fucking back it. You know what I mean? Like you can't, like that's talk shit syndrome. My friends in college and I, we always joked about TSS, talk shit syndrome. You talk shit, you're going to, it's going to come back on you. And that fucking happened to Colorado. So from that standpoint, I'm kind of like, guys, what, like, do not be that way. Like that's not the kind of student athlete like the world wants you to be. But
and to credit, I mean Dion has done a lot of great things in a span of a year. And I know this is a new team, but it's still a football culture that only won one game last year. Yeah, Dion's trying to flip it on the script, right? He's trying. He brought in playmakers. I've mentioned that. He's brought in a lot of playmakers. He didn't work on the offensive line, and it showed. And it came out, and it showed. Like, I knew it was going to be bad because I saw Kamara for Colorado State terrorize Shedeur Sanders the week prior. Like, Kamara, and the only reason they gained some traction is when Kamara got ejected from the game. And so watching this, I knew coming in, okay, Oregon, that's not going to happen. Their defensive line is going to terrorize Shedeur Sanders all day, and it showed. One thing I will give Colorado, I think they pair up better against USC this week. I'm not saying they're going to pull it off, but they do pair up a lot better with USC. So
and we'll get more into that, but I do agree with that too. But watching this Oregon game, frankly, it reminded me of my team a lot, because we also have a lot of O-line struggles that we just the O-line is probably one of our weaker points. And so they're getting a lot better. They're doing a lot better. We're still working on it. But last game we'll recap here. I know we talked about it last week in the preview. Ohio State versus Notre Dame. Ohio State moved up to number 4 after winning 17-14. Notre Dame only dropped down to 11, so they didn't go down too far. Absolute defensive battle here. Did you watch this game at all, or did you hear anything about this game?
This was a hell of a game. It came down to the wire. It came down to the last 2 seconds of the game, and Ohio State went for it on fourth and goal, I think, and they ended up scoring a touchdown with 2 seconds left. The one thing with this is Notre Dame only had 10 people on the field.
That's what I was going to bring up.
Yeah,
that's the one thing that I kept hearing about it too. It was just like, 10 guys. Why put 10 guys on the field? I'm like, was this like an accident thing? Was this like an intentional somehow benefited you strat? Like, what the fuck happened here?
Yeah, so I think this goes back to Marcus Freeman and coaching. They didn't want to get a penalty because they didn't think they could get another guy on the field before Ohio State snapped the ball. That's what I've been hearing. But at the same time, didn't really matter. They were already fourth and goal on the 2 yard line. No, 3 yard line. It would have moved it up to the 1. I mean, yeah, the chances right there. I don't know like what Ryan Day was, or not Ryan Day, Marcus Freeman was thinking at this mindset, but he is a new coach. Like this is his second full year at Notre Dame, but still, it's a coaching blunder, and Ohio State capitalized. I don't. If you play this game 9 out of 10 times, I think Notre Dame wins it 9 out of 10 times with the teams that were on the field this year. And I don't think this is going to set Notre Dame back at all this year. They play Duke, number 21 Duke this week, or number 17 Duke. So I think this will be a good game. Good. I'm pissed off. I'm going to come back and I'm going to kick ass type of game for Notre Dame.
Definitely, and I hope they do. Like I am a fan of their quarterback.
Game Hartman.
Yes, Hartman. I am a fan of their quarterback. I like him, and so I hope they do good against Duke. But that being said, we will get more into our upcoming football games we have going on here. We will start off with a non-ranked matchup here: Iowa versus Michigan State. This is once again going to be the night game, and it's actually going to be played at Kinnick, and I am pissed because I am going to be on the road somewhere in Wisconsin and will not be able to watch.
Damn. Well, you'll be able to maybe watch on your phone, right?
I'll be able to watch, but I was so excited I was trying to find Iowa's home night game because I really, really wanted to go in person live down to Kinnick and go watch an Iowa game. And I was like, oh, Michigan State is a night game at Kinnick. Let's see what's going on. I'm going to be on my way back from fucking Wisconsin. So no tickets for me. Maybe there will be another. We'll find out. I don't know. But yes, I will be able to watch it on the ride home on my phone. Hopefully I will watch Iowa win. Yeah, what's Michigan State's record right now? I don't even know.
They're 2-2. They're 2-2.
Okay. Against
they're 2-2, and they played Central Michigan, which they won 31-7. Richmond 45-14. They
Not
got
impressive.
Smoked by Washington 41-7. And they got smoked by Maryland 31-9.
All right, so I'm thinking a solid win here for Iowa.
I'm hoping if we don't win this game by 20 points, well, we might not even score 20 points. But if we don't shut out Michigan State's offense, I got major questions for Iowa this year. This is one of those games where it's going to be like a make or break for Iowa. And it's sad that it's coming this early. But I need to see what we actually have because we did struggle against a couple of schools. We struggled against Iowa State. We did struggle a little bit against Western Michigan in the first half. I need to see Iowa actually go out and physically dominate this game.
Agreed. And I'm torn on two fronts right now because on the one hand, I do not want Brian Ferentz to meet his goals at all. I do not want him to meet his 25 points a game, bullshit, whatever. Now, that one is easy. That one is easy to dismiss and say, oh, Iowa can win every game like 24-0, no problem. Or 21-14 even. Like what? That's still, he does not meet his bonus requirements. How badly do we want to say fuck Brian Ferentz though? Because another part of his contract is also 7 wins this season.
Yeah,
we can win plenty of games, like I said, missing that points per game goal. But if we truly, truly wanted him out and wanted something to change, him missing his 7-game win goal would also be a little bit of icing on the cake. Don't you think?
I agree. With that, plain devil's advocate, if you lose Brian Ferentz, you lose Kirk Ferentz. I think he'll retire if Brian leaves. I firmly believe that. And are you ready to see an Iowa team without Kirk Ferentz? And you mentioned it earlier in this podcast. Ready? You mentioned all of the Iowa production that have made it to the NFL, the constant top 25 appearances, the constant 8-win Iowa. We've seen that under Kirk Ferentz. Yeah, Iowa's never truly a playoff contender, but do we really want to go to obsolete into nothingness? Because that's what could happen if we do lose Kirk Ferentz.
And that, I mean, that could also potentially happen just with the way the conferences are realigning.
Yeah.
Like, we're getting some powerhouses in the Big Ten West. I think there's a decent chance that Iowa goes a little bit of lights out one way or another. But no, I'm not the kind of guy that can say I want to lose. Even I know I made the argument last season when we were talking about the Bears and the Texans and the first round pick and all that. Is like I am always going to try to win a game. I am never there's no benefit in my head to losing a game. I do not want to see my team lose under any circumstances. So I just had to ask the question because it's a thoughtful question.
Well, and I'm glad you brought it up though, because you mentioned like the four powerhouses that are coming to the Big Ten West. This might be the perfect time to clean house. You're right. I mean, like to think about it and start fresh. Yeah, Iowa won't be a competitor anymore, but at least we're not going to try to keep up with the Joneses at a certain point and try to keep up with USC and Oregon. If we go and find a new coach and we develop under a new regime this next year and for the next 2 to 3 years and then come back stronger than we were with Kirk Ferentz, that is a possibility because I do think Iowa would be a great landing spot for a head coach somewhere. Iowa has a successful tradition. They hold on to their coaches long time. Hayden Fry was there for 25 years. And Kirk Ferentz has been there for 23. Job security. They're not going to let you go after a 5-win season. You got to have multiple 5-win seasons for Iowa to let you go. I think this would be the perfect time.
All right. Well,
that's just saying.
No, you're not wrong. I always agree. One of the other coaches I work with talks about like Iowa should never change. Like Iowa needs to just do what they do and they don't need to change. If they try to change, like they're going downhill. And while I kind of agree, a part of me is also like, don't you need change as a team though? Like, yeah, sure. The minute they try to change and move away from what they've done and go to something else, like they're not going to be 8-win Iowa anymore. They're probably going to have some 3, 4, 5-win seasons or something. But then hopefully that new system, once you get it implemented and get it going, you can start becoming a 10, 11 record. Maybe you can be playoff contenders. But we will see. I don't want Kirk to go anywhere, not just yet at least. I really don't want Brian to make his goals. Not for the sake of getting fired per se, but because if he gets them, he gets more money, and I don't think he deserves it at all. But getting into our next game, I know we've talked quite a bit about it. Colorado versus number 8, USC. I'm hoping they have a better time than they did at Oregon. For 2 reasons, I think they will. One, like you said, they probably match up better. For some reason, Oregon plays so much like a Big Ten school. USC is not a Big Ten school. Well, they will be. But from the standpoint of Oregon's dominating O-line, running the ball, etc., like they do not play the same way. Second, I think Oregon will be a bit of a wake-up call for these guys. Like you said, there's a lot of playmakers on this team. There's a lot of ego. And just all the shit they were doing before the Oregon game is, to me, really indicative of like, okay, you guys needed to learn a lesson a little bit. Hopefully after that game, you learned it. Now you're going to go take on USC. You've got a fire under your ass, and you're going to be ready to play and ready to go. Just do your best. Do you win? I don't know. Maybe. I can hope so, but just go do your best.
Yeah, man. So in some regards, I agree. I think that Colorado will come out and play USC better. I still think USC pulls the win out. I think it's 27-17, 27-16 type ball game. I don't think they'll lose by 40 points like they did against Oregon. But I do think that I do believe in something Deion said. And I might not be a Colorado fan, but I am starting to believe in that Deion Sanders is a damn good coach. And one thing with it is he said, you'll never see us worse than you saw today. And I agree. I think that was their oh fuck moment in college football. All these playmakers that, would have been great on Power Five schools like Alabama or Miami or Florida State. They would have been great players, but they would have never been in an ass kicking like that because those teams have built a culture around them. Colorado's building a culture from the ground up. And I do think Deion's the right guy. And you talked about shit talking syndrome, right? But that's Deion Sanders. He's made a career out of shit talking and he backs it up. I don't think there's an issue with shit talking. I think there's an issue when you shit talk and you can't back it up and you get 40 hung on you.
And I partially agree with that. I'm not a big shit talk guy, just from the perspective of, like you said, I don't always know if it's going to be backed up or not. So I never shit talk from a beforehand standpoint of like I'm not a big talker. I'm always like a shut your mouth, go play, like scoreboard will do the talking kind of guy. But I understand where it comes in to college football, and it can be kind of it. It's to some degree needed. Little bits and pieces here like are needed. That's not the kind of guy I am.
For sure. But yeah, no, I do think USC is going to face a competition. And I think USC is kind of overlooking Colorado now. I think USC is going to go in. But at the same time, I don't know because USC struggled with Arizona State last week. It was a close game with Arizona State. So I think, both these schools are looking for some like momentum to keep going. And, Colorado, if they go out and shock USC and Caleb Williams, like they might be back at once again in the top 25, even after that ass beating. Who knows?
Definitely. And one thing I do have to say too, I didn't even think about this, but Travis Hunter being gone definitely does not help things whatsoever. Offensively, defensively, it's mostly a line issue. But even from that standpoint, like you said, Colorado State was terrorizing Shedeur half the game. But where did Shedeur go when, like he started getting linemen up in his face? He started moving the pocket around.
He went to
He
this.
threw it to his number one fucking target, Travis Hunter. And when he's not on the field, what do you expect Shedeur to do? Where's he going to go?
Number two receiver. I mean, J.C. Horn's pretty good. Or Jamie Horn's pretty good receiver for him. But yeah, no, you're right. But at the same time, it's because Travis Hunter does all the little things right for Shedeur Sanders. He's that underneath route. He's that security blanket for Shedeur Sanders. And yeah, you're right. Missing him plays a major fact. But you can't tell me that Oregon game would have still been. It wouldn't have been 42-6. It might have been 42-13. I don't think
35. He plays on defense too,
okay.
And I could watch one very specific touchdown where if Travis Hunter was playing corner, they would not have scored that touchdown.
Okay.
I like to say 35-14 or something like that.
Okay, that's still a blowout. But we wouldn't have been talking about Colorado being very, very overrated because and I think it's a publicity too, man. Colorado got unfair expectations put on them going into that game. The media wanted a new darling because Alabama's down, everything's down. So I think that was a major aspect too. They wanted Colorado to be that darling like TCU was last year. Well, I don't think they are.
Yes. Now, moving on to a game that we last had. Number 3 Texas is going to play number 4 Kansas. I put this game in here just because it was a top 25 matchup. And do you think the hype, speaking of hype and everything with Colorado, do you think the hype is going to live up for Texas right now? Currently, they're ranked as a playoff team. Like number 3, like that's making the playoffs.
I think Texas is good this year, man. I think they have a good squad. I think they are a playoff team. Especially after what they've done this year and throughout the year. They beat Alabama. I mean, they smoked Baylor. Usually, like, Baylor and Texas is a close-ass game. And Utah, like, if you're going to, like, comparable components, Utah was almost a playoff team last year. And I know, different year. But they barely beat Baylor this year. And so, like, but Texas beat them 38-6. They smoked Wyoming. They beat every team pretty handily that they've played. I think Quinn Ewers is the real deal, and I think Texas is going to take them. I think they're going to be a playoff team.
and they could be trucking for quite a while because they've got Quinn Ewers right now, and what is he? He's only a sophomore,
Sophomore,
sophomore.
redshirt. Yeah,
So they got Quinn Ewers a good while, and then backing Quinn Ewers,
Arch Manning.
Arch Manning. Like,
Speaking
are
of
we
Arch,
looking at a? Are we looking at like a perennial championship Texas team right now?
it could be like, remember when Clemson had Deshaun Watson, and then they went straight to Trevor Lawrence, and they had just like 8 years of straight like great quarterback play. They were always a playoff team, right? I think they missed the playoffs once under Trevor Lawrence, but every year with Deshaun Watson, they made the playoffs. I think this is the new Clemson right now. I think Texas, they found two gems at quarterback. Arch is going to learn a lot from Quinn Ewers, and they're going to be great for the next 8 years.
Nice, yeah. And so Big 12 also looking to make a little bit of a wake there in the old conference realignment.
I forgot to tell you though, like, well, not forgot, but like Texas won't be in the Big 12 next year. Remember, Texas and
That's true.
Oklahoma, they're joining the SEC. And
True.
so, we'll see. I mean, they're going to be facing a lot of competition coming into next year.
So yet another smaller slash weaker conference school that is about to leave and is putting on an absolute show for their departure.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, man. And you don't have this game on there, but Oklahoma plays Iowa State this week. And I was gonna bet on Iowa State because they always play Oklahoma tough, and then I remembered they lost to Ohio, and I was like, yeah, we're not gonna put because I thought it was crazy because like Oklahoma's minus 27.5. That's a lot of points.
That is a lot
I
of
was like,
points, especially Iowa State did beat whoever they just played. They just played somebody and they did win and they didn't look horrible. Like they looked like they were doing all right for themselves in that game. But not saying they will beat Oklahoma because Oklahoma's ranked number 16 or something right now.
14, yeah.
14. So yeah, like they don't win. I think they could play them tough. I think you're right about that. I think they're starting to hit a little bit of a stride with their new quarterback. That like they've have some experience together now, so they're gonna start looking a little better than they did those first couple weeks. But yeah, I would take Iowa State to cover that. That's a lot of points.
I thought so too. That's like if you're playing like a non-power 5 school, like Western Michigan or something like that. I figured that. So I was like, and I was hesitant. I might still, make a trip over across the river to go place that bet. But I was like, that's a lot of points. But yeah, so Big 12, man. We covered everybody this year. Like this podcast so far, we talked.
Well, when your team sucks, you got to spread it out a little.
Both our teams, professional and college.
Yeah. Speaking of, we will get into our professional football right now. First off, we will give a recap of the Bears versus the Chiefs. As we kind of stated earlier, it was a blowout. Chiefs won 41-10. I didn't really watch. Did you watch much? You watched a little bit.
I watched the whole damn game. I put myself through that misery. You go and I got a lot to talk about here. So.
Okay, well, as I did not watch the game, I really don't have that much to say other than I expected this to happen. It's the Chiefs. We've looked like ass up until now. Why would anything change? So I don't know 100% what the issue is. Play calling. Justin Fields isn't a good quarterback. I don't know what the actual problem is, but whatever it is, there is a fucking problem in Chicago, and it needs to be fixed. I just don't know what that fix is.
All right. So, yeah, I agree. There needs to be a change in Chicago, and I think, to be honest, man, and if you want my honest opinion, it goes from the very top down. And I'm not talking about Ryan Poles. I'm not talking about Ian Cunningham. I'm not talking about Kevin Warren, our CFO. I'm talking about Virginia McCaskey and a change of ownership in the Chicago Bears franchise. Virginia McCaskey is the daughter of George Halas, who founded the Chicago Bears. back in 1919 when they were formerly known as the Decatur Staleys. The one thing with this is, man, like, she's not like, yeah, you hire people to run the team, and that's what Kevin Warren is. He's in his first year, but I think it's an owner thing. They don't want to play. They don't want to spend big money on players. They don't want to spend big money on everything. So, one thing is, the Bears are a poverty franchise, and we're gonna keep being a poverty franchise until we change owners. We've seen teams change owners in the past. The Commanders just sold their team to a new owner, and they have a little spark. They have a little bit of motivation going on in Washington, D.C. right now. I think that the Bears really need to change owners. And I'm not saying, like, get rid of the whole team, right? I'm not saying get rid of Ryan Poles. I think he has done what he can under this regime that he was given. One thing, he did mess up on Matt Eberflus. Matt Eberflus, when your specialty is the defensive side of the ball and you still give up 41 points, I get it. It is the Kansas City Chiefs, but you were hired because you were a damn good defensive coordinator. Act like it. You're calling the plays. Alan Williams isn't here anymore. You are the defensive coordinator for the rest of the year. Act like it. Put a team out there that. Go ahead.
And on top of that, Eberflus, like you said, hiring a defensive coach, like the Bears defense, like that's been what they've focused on in the past, but they've moved away from that a little bit. They moved away from being that typical monsters of the midway type team. Like they're trying to become one of the new day and age, like power offensive teams. And what hire do you make as a head coach when you're trying to have a power offensive team?
Offensive
A
coordinator.
defensive guy? Like what like that doesn't make sense, you know? You want to build and grow and have this big powerful offense, but you're going to hire a defensive coordinator as your head coach. There's your first issue right there. Second issue, that defensive coordinator isn't even doing the monsters of the midway justice right now on the defensive side of things. So that's strike number 2.
And strike number 3 is when Matt Eberflus came in, he brought in Luke Getsy. We were high on Luke Getsy. We thought he was going to be all right. He was a passing game coordinator, quarterback coach for the Green Bay Packers from a quarterback that doesn't really need coaching. Aaron Rodgers has been in the league for 13 to 14 years, and he's a Hall of Fame quarterback. He didn't need coaching. You rode on Aaron Rodgers' coattails to an offensive coordinator job that you were never qualified for because he never even called plays when he was the offensive coordinator in college for Mississippi State. He's never called plays until he came to Chicago, and it shows. It shows dramatically. And let's move on to Justin Fields. Justin Fields, I still have faith. I know I'm probably one of the rare Bear fans who still have faith, but I don't have faith that he's going to be successful as the Chicago Bear. I have faith that he's going to be successful with whatever team gets him next. And I think his confidence is shattered. The Bears ruined his confidence. He looked better his first year as a Chicago Bear than he did on Sunday. And he's looked better his first year going in 2 games in against the Pittsburgh Steelers on Monday Night Football when he threw for 285 yards than he did all year this year. That's the major aspect with Justin Fields. I think his confidence is shot. I think they brought in the wrong coach from the jump. When you know you have a young, impressionable quarterback, you don't bring in a defensive fucking coordinator. You never do that. You bring in an offensive guy. There was Brian Dable available when that coaching tree happened. There was so many other offensive coordinators that could have been successful. Eric Bieniemy. There's so many offensive coordinators that could have helped him out. And this is why the Bears are a poverty franchise, and we are never going to be successful because we make all the fucking wrong moves every single time, especially on the offensive side of the ball.
That's one thing I've never really thought about before. I think you're right. Justin Fields did look better, like his first year, arguably second year. Like right now, we've seen nothing. Like we look like our offense has gone straight down the shitter. Like we did look better the first couple years under Fields than we do right now. And sure, you can call it growing pains. You can call it like trying to do a bit of a rebuild with some of the moves we made, whatnot. But it does not look good at all. But for interest and time, we'll move on from our Bears heartbreak a little bit
One more
and get
thing
into.
before we move.
Okay, one more thing.
If I gotta see Taylor Swift one more time, and one more thing of Taylor Swift dating Travis Kelce, I'm gonna freaking lose it. She's a freaking cult leader, man. She's a fucking cult leader. Did you see that Facebook thing I sent you? I don't know if I sent it to you. Hold on. It's crazy. Travis Kelce's dating Taylor Swift. She was at the Bears game laughing at the Bears' pathetic defense.
I mean, what weren't half of the Chiefs fans in existence?
Yeah, that's true. And Matt Nagy was smirking on the sideline. I want to punch that guy in the face. All right. 400% spike in Travis Kelce jerseys. Kelce's podcast, right? Yep. Ranks number 1 on Apple. And Kelce has added 383 new Instagram followers. And the viewership, their very first NFL game that people ever watched, 24.3 million viewers watched the Bears get their ass kicked. And it was a jump, 63% female jump in viewership from 18 to 49. Taylor Swift's a cult leader. I don't know what the Swifties are doing, but please don't ever watch a Bears game again. I don't think they want to watch a Bears game again after that performance, and I don't blame them. So, yeah. Anyways, that's my rant on Taylor Swift. Fuck Taylor Swift, too. And fuck Travis Kelce. And just fuck the Chiefs. Fuck everything.
All right, I happen to love Travis Kelce and feel very, very indifferent about Taylor Swift. Like I'm
sorry.
Sure, you could.
I'm just salty that the Bears got shit kicked. They could have put 70 on us. They could have.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on, because you said last thing. We're fucking done with this conversation. But speaking of putting 70 up, we did have the Broncos and the Dolphins, which was also a bit of a shit show game, and the Dolphins did put up 70. Versus the Broncos 20 points. I genuinely looked up after this game. I had to Google what the most points scored was by an NFL team. It was 74, so the Dolphins didn't quite break a record on the Broncos, which I'm kind of thankful for. But still, 70 points, that is absolutely insane. We don't see FCS versus Power 5 matchups happen this poorly. Like, my God.
Yeah, it was bad. Sean Payton, longtime successful coach in the NFL. Well, that was his worst loss that he's ever taken, and probably will be his worst loss he ever taken. Dude, the scoring breakdown, literally Miami, 14 points in the first quarter. 21 points in the second quarter, 14 in the third quarter, 21 in the fourth quarter. That's insane. Tua Tagovailoa had a day.
By the time you're in the fourth quarter, like, do you not have your fucking, like, third strings in? Like, do you not put in just backups of backups? Just like, hey, go get some fucking reps or something. Like, I don't know. We're just kind of fucking around now.
No, they did. That's the crazy part. They did. Tua Tagovailoa had 23 for 26, 309 yards and 4 TDs. And then they put Mike White. I don't know if you remember Mike White, New York Jet. 3 for 3, 67 yards and 1 TD. And then they had Devin Atchin, their starting running back. He ran over 200 yards in his first NFL game ever. 2 touchdowns. Raheem Mostert, their backup, 82 yards and 3 touchdowns. Chris Brooks, a running back I've never heard of, 9 attempts for 66 yards. And I know football. I know players. I don't know who the fuck Chris Brooks is.
Did the Broncos also put in backups?
No.
Or was this the first string Broncos whole game?
This was the first string Broncos. Russell Wilson played the whole game. He went 23 for 38, 306 yards, 1 TD, and 3 interceptions. Their defense looked bad, man. The Broncos defense. And this is where the the script flips, right? Because when you think about one aspect of things, the Broncos had a defensive coordinator as a head coach, right? They had Vic Fangio. He was a great defensive coordinator. He was a Chicago Bears defense coordinator in 2018. Got the head coaching job in Denver. He had okay years, 6-10, 7-9, type of years in Denver. They move on to Sean Payton. this year after a 1 year gap with Nathaniel Hackett. And that defense took a hit. So coaching is important. And that is what a key defensive coordinator, being a head coach, can do for your program. Going back to Eberflus, he cannot do that. He doesn't elevate. If you are a specialty on one side of the ball, you need to elevate that side of the ball that you play on. And Sean Payton, he's not doing that in Denver right now either.
I agree. You got to do what you're good at, right?
Yep.
And if you have your upbringing in one side of the ball, your upbringing in one thing, you're smarter on one side of the other, like that's where you need to spend your time. That's where you need to really hone in that skill and, like you said, elevate that portion of the team. And you better make a damn good hire for your opposite coordinator to make sure, like, they should almost be head coach material at the time that you are hiring that coordinator because you're specializing in the other.
Right.
But rolling somewhat straight into it, we did have one more game recap. Steelers, Raiders. I know we talked about it last week. Steelers won 23-18. But I think more interestingly to hear here, now that we've talked Bears, we've talked Broncos, our upcoming games. The Bears are going to play the Broncos in what is going to be the Toilet Bowl this year. Based on scores alone, I would say the Bears stand a little bit better chance. I mean, Chiefs didn't put up 70 on us, right? Like,
the Broncos are -3 favorites going into this game. So
well, that hurts.
That does hurt. A team that just lost by 70 points is favorites on our Bears. Yeah, and ESPN is predicting the Broncos to win 52.8 to 46.9. So
where the fuck are they getting those numbers?
I don't know, but it does hurt. Yeah, that's going to be a shit game. It's at noon on October 1st, so Sunday. And it's not even, if I didn't have NFL Sunday ticket, I would not be able to get this game because it's not showing in my area. And isn't that crazy? I'm right smack dab between Chicago and Denver, and they're putting the Chiefs don't even play at noon. You know what team they're putting on? The Dallas Cowboys. Because they're like, nobody wants to watch this game. It's fine. Yeah, no one really does want to watch this game. If Justin Fields and Luke Getsy in our offense can't look at least competent against the Denver Broncos defense, then I don't know what to tell you. I might have to give up my stance in believing in Fields. I need to see a 300-yard performance. Maybe not even 300-yard. I need to see a 250-yard performance and at least 2 touchdowns by Justin Fields.
The winner of this game carries on my fandom and my viewership for the rest of the season. Straight up and simple. This is a great time to put these two teams head to head and be like, all right, guys, you are fighting for one more fan watching the rest of your games throughout the season. The other one, sorry, fuck it, just no. Maybe I'll check in with you next year, but right now I can't do it. I can't support an 0-4 team. I just no. I hope this is a good game. This is the one game. This is the one Bears game that I will try to pay the absolute most attention to. I watched a good chunk. I can't even tell you our first 2 games right now. I'm not going to lie. I watched a good chunk of I think it was our second game, actually. Our second game, Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
Tampa Bay was a game I watched a good chunk of. First game, I think I missed some. I kind of caught some. It was a little back and forth. Chiefs, like I said, did not watch. Hardly any. We went out to dinner. It was on the TV. I kind of looked a little bit at the TV to watch us, in the fourth quarter just get railed. But this game, I actually want to sit down. I want to pay attention to, and I want to really, really see, okay, what team truly looks better right now? Yeah, who wins? But, what team actually looks like they know what football is?
Yeah, definitely not the Bears after last game, but definitely not the Broncos after last game. The way I look at this game is if the Bears do not win this game, we're not going to win a game this year.
No.
And I firmly believe that. I think the Broncos, this is the game that the Bears can win. And I'm not saying if the Bears will only win against the Broncos, because this could spark a little momentum going. There's a couple other winnable games on our schedule, but if we can't pull this off against Denver, We're not going to win a game. And it's in Chicago. It's home fans. I'm so glad. I just want to say this. This isn't related to the Broncos Bears, but I was looking at football tickets like beginning of the season, and Bears tickets were so fucking expensive. And I looked last night, and they're so cheap now. So if I really want to go to a Bears game, I probably could now. They're like $40.
Should we go to one of the Bears like when my season's over? Should we just find a random game, go catch the Bears?
Bears Falcons December 31st.
Hey, there you go.
There we go.
That's our game.
The Bears.
But moving on to some more of our upcoming games here. Another noon game, mentioning the Dolphins, having them just kick the shit out of the Broncos. They are going to play the Bills now. So we have a good old Dolphins-Bills rivalry. These guys are going to be fighting for who is going to win. Which conference are they in?
AFC
East. They are going to be fighting for the AFC East right here. This will be a really good game. I think this, arguably, I would rather watch this game than watch the Bears and Broncos.
Yeah, me too. Maybe I'll put this game on my phone and watch the Bears Broncos on the TV, or vice versa.
Or vice versa.
Yeah, probably vice versa. The Dolphins are actually projected to win. They're actually -2.5 favorites, and
they look good.
Yeah,
really good.
I'm not gonna lie, and I think the Dolphins are the best team in the NFL right now. Right now, through 4 weeks, over the Chiefs, over the Bills, over the Eagles. I think they are the number one team, and a lot to do is with Tua. Tua has came out sharp, and not even Tua, Mike McDaniels, man. Mike McDaniel is a damn good coach. He's done wonders. And you mentioned this when you were talking about the Broncos. You better hire a damn good defensive coordinator or offensive coordinator. Mike McDaniels is an offensive specialist. Who did he go out in this offseason? Vic Fangio is his defensive coordinator. And it shows. He's put an imprint on his defense on the Miami Dolphins, and they look sharp. This team is the whole complete team. The one bad side is Tua can Tua stay healthy throughout this whole year? That's going to be the downfall of the Miami Dolphins.
That will be the key right there. I think there's a good chance of it. So far, it seems like he's doing all right. Of course, you never really know.
Concussion.
Concussion.
5. He had 3 concussions in 1 year and 5 in his life in total. That's terrifying.
That's a lot.
That's
but hopefully he can keep his head clear. Hopefully his line helps him out a little bit in that department.
Yeah.
We'll get through our last couple upcoming games here as we're running a little low on time. But speaking of toilet bowls going on here, we have another 0-3 team versus an 0-3 teams with the Panthers playing another NFC North Vikings. Also happening at noon. Rough all around. This is another game that's just like, are Vikings fans watching this?
Well, and okay. I got a couple of takes on this game. I think the Panthers, they deserve to be 0-3. They are a young team with a rookie quarterback and a new coach. 0-3, okay. They've been in a couple of close games. I mean, they lost to the Falcons 24-10, Saints 20-17, and the Seahawks 37-17. They've been competitive in games. And so, like, I'm not saying, like, the Panthers are bad. I just think, they're young. They're young. They're rebuilding. This is the first year.
How often do you have a first-round draft pick quarterback come in, play right away, and you just do phenomenal?
Not often. Not often. Like, and that's the major aspect of it. So, yeah, I get why they're 0-3. The Vikings, on the other hand, last year they went 13-4. And they had, 11 one-score games? This year, every single one of their game is a one-score game, and they've lost. So I also don't think the Vikings are as bad as they are either. I think the Vikings finally feel what it felt like last year to be a Bears fan, or feel the other side of it this year, where they're not pulling these one-score games off like they did last year. They could easily be 3-0 right now. And Kirk Cousins actually leads the league in passing right now.
Interesting. I could see that because they're pretty weak at running back right now. Like, who do they have as right? They just took Cam Akers.
Yeah, they have Alexander Madison, and he's not doing great. Ty Chandler, not great. Dalvin Cook left, and it really hurt the Minnesota Vikings.
So when all you can do is throw the ball, like, yeah, of course your quarterback's going to have a lot of passing yards.
No,
I'd be interested to see what his completion percentage is. Like, how often are you throwing like, because passing yards is one thing, but there's a different story between like 80% completion, like high passing yard, and like 20% completion, high passing yard. Because that's just you throwing the fuck out of it and getting lucky once in a while.
for
Now,
sure.
they do have Justin Jefferson, who really, really helps him out in that department. I have him on fantasy, so I should know. But
Actually, believe it or not, man, he's actually ranked 7th in the NFL for completion rate,
interesting.
69.6% completion rate right now. So he actually is in the top 10. Uh, Kirk's not the problem. It's Minnesota's defense. And it shows Minnesota's defense. They've had a lot of points scored on them this year. I mean, throughout this whole year, Buccaneers scored 20, Eagles scored 34, and the Chargers scored 28. And then you look at the teams Minnesota's played. Those are 3 tough teams: Buccaneers, Eagles, and Chargers. I think at least 2 out of those 3 teams were playoff teams last year. So actually all 3, because Bucks made it last year with Tom Brady. So they played
It could
3.
potentially be competition.
Yeah. So I don't know, man.
Interesting. Well, last game we'll talk about here. Game is actually currently being played right now. Lions versus the Packers. As we mentioned, we are if we have to support somebody in the NFC North, by God, it's going to be the Lions over any of the other two. And right now, they are destroying the Packers, 34-17. David Montgomery's got a couple touchdowns at least. Hopefully, he scored this last one too. I have him in fantasy, so that would be really nice. But yeah, Jordan Love just made a great pass. Sorry,
Damn.
but
Sorry, I'm
were you
playing Jordan Love in fantasy football.
against him?
Yeah. Damn it. Yeah,
Doing
no,
a little better than you'd like.
17 points. Not awful. Not great.
Average quarterback score. It's not too bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely. I think the Lions have put this one away. It is already the fourth quarter. There's about 4.5 minutes left, and so yeah, there's not much the Packers are going to be able to do about this. But that is all the NFL talk we have for you guys right now. Rough football weekend. Hopefully we'll have a better one, and I think we should. I think we should have a much better football weekend. I mean, Bears Broncos, hopefully winnable, at least good game. Iowa Michigan State should be winnable, should be a good game. Colorado USC, yeah, I don't know if I can look at that one too much, but we should have some decent hopes this weekend. Now, does that mean we lose both those and get our hopes absolutely crushed? I don't know, but what are your expectations for this coming up football weekend?
I have no expectations. I'm going in with no expectations during this football weekend. Because
that is probably smart.
yeah, I just got a weird feeling I was going to drop this game against Michigan State. I got this gut feeling inside that we're going to drop this game. And then I got this gut feeling that the Bears are going to go and make a clown show out of this game and lose by 20-0 against the freaking Broncos.
The worst part of like this matchup right now, especially if the Bears do lose, not even if the Bears just lose, but if the Bears look like ass, the worst part is I know my girlfriend's whole family is going to be watching this game, and I'm gonna be that guy. Like, I've already been that guy a little bit, like, oh, here comes, like the Bears fan, but at least they were still the Broncos, like they didn't have much better going for them, so what could they say? Right now, though, if the Broncos beat us badly, I don't know if I can show my face in that house.
Yeah, I would take a break from going to that house for a while if the Broncos beat us badly. I think in the sad reality is like you can be Broncos bad, but at least you're not Bears bad. I think that's going to be the saying if the Bears end up losing to the Broncos. But both teams suck, so it doesn't even matter.
Both teams do suck, so we'll see how that goes on with the season. But for right now, that is all we've got time for today. So we will see you guys again next week. Hopefully this episode felt a little scattershot. It was a little last second, so I apologize for that. Hopefully next week we will do a little better. Please like, subscribe, give us your support, comment on our videos. Tell us what you guys want to hear. Tell us your thoughts on some of the things we say. Like, are you up or down on Colorado? Are you taking Bears or are you taking Broncos? Let us know what you guys think. We want to hear from you guys.
For sure, guys, and thanks for listening. And I just got 2 words. Bear down.